Dhamma Jumden Dendi Jen Shaban Rajamba Yandam Zobe Sanje Ribana Shasudem Devare Shaban Jidin Jema Jewon Deva Kano Lana Meba Lana Menan Jedem Sanje Jumden Dembe Jawa Shaja Toba Chaseno Shudu Jasu Shewa Dhamma Jumden Dijen Shaban Rajamba Yandam Zobe Sanje Ribana Shasun Demba Devare Shaban Jidin Given the Kano Lana Meba Lada Benam Sanje Jumden de Bejan Shaja Toba Chaseno Shudu Jasu Shewa Dhamma Jumden de Shinsha Rajamba Yandam Zobe Sanje Ribana Shasun Devare Shaban Jidin Jamba Given the Kano Lana Meba Lada Benam Jedem Sanje Jumden Bejan Shaja Toba La Chaseno Shudu Jasu Shewa Kanse Kanyen Zobo Chatham Se Sajin de Na Gomba Manin Jiden de Na Choche So Dese Kyaba Jama Chahaze Namda Gunga Chodo Suzawa Yishi Jazo Seye Chaban Jiden Sumna Lame Gombo Chonye Jama Chahaze Chenjon Demba Chimen Davishe Sendon Jawa Jama Chahaze Diri Jana Seba Suma Jenyame Jenje Jama Chahaze Gombo Tuji Chedemba Tamje Shembe Demba Sonam Yuden Jama Dishin Shala Cha Zamo Taben de Shacho, giving his own day. Chitted the no Jojo Marshall, Chana Cha Zamo, Chana Lavatala Rabdu Ne, Singer get your Maya Cha. The watching Yamisha Jengava Puson Soba Jerangas in Tenesan Yetemba, Karma Rabi, you must have a sugar. Melon Loda Jenda, decision of the Delta, Solomon D. Tamjets. Kovantum Nejin Radu than Gadam Nada Chiva. Siveson and Jovan Jevareso.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one going beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened be, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Chandrakirti clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Chandrakirti clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Chandrakirti clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then, I prostrate. With your pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of merit, the qualities of a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime, pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community contending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jono Zoje Jono Ma Janju Bado Dane Janju Dane Jesu Jola Binje Sanje Jogo Sho Sanje Jono Zoje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Janju Dane Jesu Sonam Je Jola Binje Sanje Jono Zoje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Janju Dane Jesu Sonam Jola Binje Sanje Jogo Sho Sanje Jono Zoje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Janju I go
for refuge until I'm aligned to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm aligned to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Zobe Sanje Ribada Shazon Deman Devere Shaman Jiden Jimon Devan Hadam Menanje Dema Sanje Jumden De Suvan Dishin Shaman Sonan Dagi Judan Geve Zawa Nama Chume Zava Subera Dojim Sonam Jitere Namji Peje Sabona Jim Chanam Jemedo Jeba Juyerim Baduma Tona Midimba Meba Tebe Mobraka Sheriff Sijim Medeva Tona Manziva Meba Simjetam Jitemba Chanjusim Yap Pabe Kazana Jebanyang and the Bertrange and Ravana Jetebe Yishepado, Boba Samje, Suna Bratavanya, Mabuja, Davacham, Mejabu, Sumba, Mebadeva, Suda Ganyama, Sumebata, the Mate, Dungela number to Bumba, and number to Bakana, the Medan by Jajan of the Vanajan, Yozu, number two. Sevale to what you want to give a Yishio from the Vandeva, the Majo, but the Tadaju, Sanjay Jim. Ishela never, young and never, no matter by Yana, one you just Simjas, Civil Salash. The only Sanjim then is a good when you the Yana one number of vision of Tomaka, Tomaka. There's a was in Reservoir Monday, by Yozo Tabu, Yozo Chama, Yana, Demon, Never them a dead home, but then you were came on the Sozo and the river, Jim, then the end of us, one on them. Nevajama Zobe Shanju, and Jovajama Midim, and Mission the water, Tembo Yuvajamo, Temashemi, and then Leverajuma, Rivajuma, Tambushuma, Timajuma, Temajama, Charge of Jivasona, Jibajin, Joma, Jimena, Kundo, Jimena Zujova, Chemo, Kangi, and Javajo, Gabama, Chabam, Tambema, Woman, Tadijim, Jubanji. Zobe Sanje Mananje Tambate Na Chatse. Maybe I'll read from here to 74. The merit of negating intrinsic arising on the both level of true truth. This has two parts: the merit of more readily avoiding the view of eternalism and nihilism, and the merit how cause and effect become the most tenable. So this part is something that is uncommon in the Prasangika school. So something like the common locus of absence of intrinsic existence and the law in cause and effect. So together functioning. So nothing intrinsically exists, but there is the law and cause and effect. So this was, completely uncommon with other Buddhist tenet schools.
This is unique to Prasanna.
Yeah, the Prasanna. Yeah. So mirror to how cause and effect become the tenet. The mirror to more readily avoiding the view of the eternalism and nihilisms. Since no intrinsic nature exists in either of true truth, the phenomena are neither eternal nor annihilated. So this is complete opposite for the mind-only school. Mind-only school says, if things are, empty of intrinsic quality, then you are annihilating, the phenomenon, existing of the phenomenon, because nothing intrinsically means nothing really exists at all. So the Prasangic school says this is the best to keep the balance or to free from true extreme eternalism and nihilism. So then the example for that is no intrinsic, but there is law and cause and effect, like reflections. So like reflections, the reflection of your face in the mirror, is not intrinsic, but it is happening or ever happening due to a cause and a condition. All things are empty of intrinsic existence, and since no intrinsic nature exists equally in either of the two truths, that of the ultimate truth, ultimate, and that of the conventional phenomena, such as form does not intrinsically exist, they are neither eternal nor annihilated. Annihilations here refer to the sense they explain in the line. So at the time of the sprout, there is no intrinsic, there has an extinction of the seed. So not annihilations. Prasangic school thinks that, when the sprout manifests, that proves the seed, although it ceased to exist, but not extinct. So it's not extinction of the seed. In the fundamental wisdom, it says, as they assert that, as they assert, what exists before is now no more. As they assert that what exists before is now no more, they fall therefore into nihilisms. So when the sprout manifests, the seed is no longer existing. What exists before now no more, therefore it is extinct or become non-existing, is the nihilism. So Saturday is no longer existing during the Sunday, because of that, if you think the Saturdays become non-existing, is the nihilism or the nihilism. So you're annihilating the existing of the Saturday. So Nagarjuna is stating here that if, having asserted intrinsic existing of things, so Nagarjuna is stating here that if, having asserted existing of things, one accept that the something that exists previously later becomes non-existence, right? So the previous life, when this life have born or this life happened, and previous life has ceased to exist, it's because of that you think previous lives become non-existing. So previously later become non-existing, or is impermanent in the sense of having disintegrated. So if you think that, your description of impermanence is things become turning into non-existing, is impermanent, so that is a nihilism. This would constitute a nihilist view. This would constitute a nihilist, right? Nihilations. How do you put it? Nihilationist view. Constitute a nihilationist view. So we do that many times. So when someone dies, he's no more. So when it's become non-existing, he's more and more. So he has more option to be, right? So yeah, Nagarjuna says the nihilationist view. For if one holds that things exist intrinsically, for if one holds that things exist intrinsically, Nagarjuna says, then whether one assert a thing to be permanent or impermanent, this would be constitute either eternalist or the nihilist. So the first, this is one who thinks that, something that is, having disintegrated, having ceased to exist, in the time of its effect. So thinking that it's become non-existing is nihilistic views, right? And, now minority schools, Sattvic schools, medieval autonomous school, they don't say that. When the sprout manifests, the seed has become non-existent. They don't say that. But still, Prasangika school said, I count one of them. Right? So although you don't say it's non-existing, because you have asserted things intrinsically exist, anything that intrinsically exists, for me, it is independent. Something independently manifests, independently ceases to exist, is same meaning of non-existing, although you don't say non-existent.
And so that's how Prasangika thinks of something being intrinsic, is that you don't have to explicitly say it, but by you saying something is intrinsic, it implies by consequence, it has to be separate from everything.
So Prasangika school says that you're just verbally saying it's not a non-existing, it exists. When the sprout has manifest, seed is, but in your mind, because you have already, conceived the seed is intrinsically exist. So which means intrinsically existing. Existing is because of itself. Right? Something that existing is because of itself. For me, it is not dependent arising. Anything that independent arising, once it ceases, become non-existing. Even you are not saying like verbally, so you still, so you don't accept you are following the nihilism, but for me, is your nihilist. Yeah. So whether it serves the permanent or impermanence, this would constitute either eternalist or the nihilist view. At this point in the commentary, the Chandrakirti cites the passage from the Fundamental Wisdoms, where Nagarjuna states that the agent and actions done are like when the Buddha manifests one emanations, who in turn they manifest another emanations. Thus, the Chandrakirti writes, the Nagarjuna has shown how things with no intrinsic existence do arises from one no intrinsic existence. So this kind of, non-intrinsic, right? No intrinsic existence is the, is the same kind of, meaning of dependent arising. So something dependent arises, that, cause another dependent arising. That cause another dependent arising. So the absence of intrinsic existing is not, usually some people say the emptiness is zero, right? Zero. So here is not a zero. There's a number, So emptiness is not a totally zero. So it is empty or intrinsic nature. Empty or intrinsic nature means the phenomena do not exist by itself or do not, exist independent. Like sprout is not manifest by itself because it's the product. Product means depending on the cosmic conditions. So the manifestation of the sprout is not by itself. And then the another dependent rising, like east and west, the short and tall, big and small. So these the manifest, things that manifest is relatively exist. So nothing that really independently existing. So one absence of, one, this is like, Buddha emanates one, emanations, and that emanations creates another emanations. So it is possible because the non-intrinsic nature can produce another non-intrinsic nature. So the independent tree, like apple, is not going to produce the orange. Orange is not going to produce the bananas. So non-intrinsic can produce another non-intrinsic. So that's the Chandrakirti, right? The Nagarjuna has shown the things with no intrinsic existence do arises from no intrinsic existence. Chandrakirti's point is that when every function is presented in the context of the no intrinsic existence, every functions, right? The function is because of the relatively functions, dependently functions. So there is no function independent. So there is no danger of falling into nihilisms. In brief, if one fails to negate the existing by virtue of intrinsic characteristic on the conventional level, so this is also, as many times it's happened when you as a beginners when we think about emptiness. So emptiness, sometimes when you logically analyze, it's sometimes there's some kind of, you can see it making sense, start making sense to you. But that, understanding is not going to help you in everyday life, what you see, what you taste. So there's a, almost like emptiness in the conventional is like a two different world. Mm-hmm. So here saying that means you haven't really negated, you haven't found what the negation element, what you're negating. Right? So if you understand the very, negation element that you're negating, and then you will be able to negate even in the conventional level. Like when you meditate in emptiness. Yeah, I can see you are moving. You want to say something?
I was just, you started to say it. I just wondered if you could give an example, that's all. You started to say it, so I shut up.
So that's when, when we analyze like the emptiness of the person with the fivefold analyzing of the self of the person. So when the person is not, the identical or the same with aggregates like body, nor the person is different from the body, right? So not the body is, is a, it's kind of, not the body is the possession or the possessed to the self, right? Not the body is possessed to the self like a tree branches, possessed to the trunk, not the forest, forest exists within the mountain. When the mountain is still there, and the one tree that grow on the mountain. So it's not like a person is there and he have the body, like a flower in the pot. The body is not possessed with the self like a mountain possessed the tree. Like head possessed the hair, right? So there is no such person like a head possessing the hair. So I'm saying that if the person is, is the thing by itself and having possessing the body, so body become the possessions to the self, then two substantial things. One substantial possess another substantial, right? Like cows have two horns, cow head and two horns. So do you see the self like a cow head, and the body is like a cow horn, like physically two things, substantially two things. The self is not a substantial by itself, and having possessing the body, feeling, thought, consciousness, consciousness. So, and then the body is also not the possessor, possess the self, like the person, person lives in a cave, the person within the body, or person is, with the body or on the body. So in this way, there is no such person that you can find same with the aggregates, different from the aggregates, having dwelling in the body possessing to the self, even the collections, the collection of mind and body, there is no person, not in the consciousness, not in the body, not in the combination, right? So in this way, there's no such persons. So this kind of start making sense to it, and then you think other persons, and then you see, if you still see other person is, something that is independent, so you don't see the other person is conceptually fabricated entity based on the combination of the mind and the body, which mind, the body are devoid of the person. Mind is the devoid person, the body is the devoid person, like table is devoid person, like air is devoid person, like moisture in the body is devoid person, like heat is devoid person, like heat in your body is devoid person, right? So this thing, in the conventional, when you see with other person with eye, you see this, intrinsic self of the person, but mind sees another way, right? So, and then the empty of the intrinsic nature in phenomena like the color, sound, smell, taste. So when you analyze, examine how the color exists, color not found inherent in any factors, any basis, right? So, but still, for the eye consciousness, it's very clear, vivid, visually it appears to the eye consciousness as independent, something that is out there by itself. So eye sees the color that exists by itself out there, but mind, understands this is not as appears to the eye consciousness. So which means, you are negating the negation elements, not only in the ultimate level, even in the conventional. Every day when you eat, smell, see things, so that your mind always think, analyze that, oh, this is not really, not the real as it appears to the perceptions. So this is the, I think here this is the way how you protect your mind falling into nihilisms and eternalisms, especially eternalisms, is stop, exaggerating, superimposing, it stop mentally, it kind of, there's a resistance to, superimposing on the phenomena of the person.
Sure. I've read a lot that when it comes to like identifying the object of negation, that it's recommended that you try and focus on like either a negative feeling or some type of very strong like sense. I don't know if that sounds familiar, but like I guess my thing is that like sometimes like that, I understand conceptually how you would see that strong sense of emotion, whether it be like anxiety or anger or something like that, and then observe it, and then kind of you would look at it and then, like you were talking about, negate, like, I guess that's my thing, is that like that advice or that practice I've heard has come up and is very useful in being able to negate like the clinging to self, that eternalism. But it also seems very difficult, almost because it feels like it's a lot of juggling, so to speak, about
it's not really easy, because this stain is from the countless years life that we have this habit. We never caution on that, right? So something that is as a it can become the presumptions of yourself in the phenomena that is never really checked and examined. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's very hard to really rebel this kind of the presumptions. So this is very thick and very strong and very long term, and hijack this mind and the state of mind. And then so to be able to kind of to be able to analyze even at a conventional level. So So kind of often you have to contemplate and analyze many times. And sometimes, we say, like Lama Tsongkapha and the Chandrakirtis, especially Lama Tsongkapha in commentary, this is, first meditating on the empty of self of person is so, crucial. So more you internally thinking, there's no, intrinsic self. There is no self within the aggregates, the physical aggregates of the feeling, aggregate of the mental formation, and aggregate of the perceptions, aggregate of the discrimination awareness. So there's nothing, if you look into the body, there is no me. There is no me at all. Every part of the body, every, condition of the body, and then each perception, eye conscious, nose conscious, tongue conscious, the body conscious, the mental conscious. So each of them, and you perfectly understood that this is totally divided self or person. No person, therefore no man, no woman at all. And then if you empty the self or person within the aggregates and the feeling and the perceptions, then says it is also, the emptied in the sense faculties, eye sense power, nose sense power, tongue sense power. It is not only that, it is also emptied in the color, sound, smell, taste, textures. So all of them, there is no self or person at all. So this eternally thinking, and sometimes, so when you kind of, when you analyze that the self or persons finding no existing in the sensual object, not in sense power, not in the sense perceptions, not in the mental consciousness, not in the body, and then check, within the body, upper parts of the body, lower parts of the body, and then just skin, flesh, moistures, every liquidities in the body. And your mind have to bring very close to each of the, the heats, wind, space, water, and the solidities. You have to bring your mind very close to each object. That, do you see here? Do you see here? Here. And then when you find there's a for a short moment, there's some convincing, some convincing there, and then you kind of in the center of the body, like it's in the spine, in the center of the body, the behind this chest, in the center of the body, like where the spine is, at the center, and you make kind of you pose there is some kind of mark, the white dot or the blue dot, and then tiny and very bright, and you look into the single pointedly, after having analyzed all of them, if something, something is functioning, there is the consciousness. The consciousness, although it's not really visually, visually appears to the mind, but you just the sample of the consciousness in the center of the body, and you look into that center of the body, and you think that you are totally dissolved into that white dots. So say, I am inseparable from this, and the rest is just because of this consciousness, and that allows the wind to flow in the body, that produce the heat in the body, that produce the moistures in the body, that produce the solidities, and that whole create the sense powers. Then from the sense powers, They're the objects that exist, like reflections, color, sound, smell, taste, all just there as like you are looking at the mirror. They just exist. They do not have any intrinsic nature. Just because of this, the main thing is the consciousness, the energies, 7 energies in the center of the body, and that allows the wind to flow in the space, and then the heat, the moisture, the solidity, and then hold the elements in the body, that create the sense faculties. From the sense faculties, like a mirror, and you see the color, you hear the sound, you smell, you taste, you feel the textures. So none of those has, intrinsic quality. None of those exists by their own, So nothing exists by themselves. It's just, from many things together, there's a something, So again, when you analyze that, when you contemplate on that, again, you go back to the center dots, and then try to remain, focus on that center dot. And then if you think that, I'm, shifting my focus, and again, reflect again in the heats, moistures, and then all these the sense powers. From the sense powers, like you're looking at the mirror, you see there's color, sound, smell, taste, textures. And again, all of this, they see, these are all like reflections. It's just the things that you see in the mirror, image of the face in the mirror, and like the reflection in the water. So nothing intrinsic. Again, go back to the center. Try to remain as long as you can, the center. That reminds you in the deep in mind, for sure, the person never really found. Right? Self or I is never, there is no clue of existing of the I. So contemplate, again go back to the center, contemplate, again go back to the centers. So that when you go back to the center and become inseparable with that, and again all these the creations dissolve back to the emptiness. And again, when you analyze or you contemplate, how this thing happened, and then it starts creating, right? So then going back to the center is all dissolving back in emptiness. So this is the pretty much, exercise this, and many of you see the Tantrayana. They use the whole mandala creations like that. You have to create, and you have to have a basis to create. It's not just, fantasy. So, and according to Yamandaga, there's Yam Lubikigo. You visualize that, the wind elements in the letter Yam. That is like the foundations. So from the Yam Lubikigo, Ram Mejigo, and then from the Ram letter and fires, Ham letters, waters, and then Lam is the earth. So then things that produce from it. So there's a whole, like, depending on one things happen, because with the basic is not intrinsically exist. So therefore, one connect to the another connect, that create another one, that connect to the another ones. So whole, and whole creations is relatively happening, because all the material creations, therefore when you meditate at the ultimate level, and again all dissolve back to the emptiness. So that because of there is something that you can dissolve back to the emptiness,
the emptiness is the absence of intrinsic nature. So therefore, again, the relatively things could happen. So this we have to exercise many times. So then it kind of start, you can, so you can feel the taste now. Now you can, oh, this means that.
So it's not like I think that's also something that kind of gets stuck in my mind, and probably a lot of people's minds too, is that it's almost like a math problem. You just do the math problem and there's the answer.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like from experience, it doesn't work like that.
See, yeah. So mathematicians, really, when in the class, the teacher writes on the blackboard, you hold points you see on the blackboard. Mm-hmm. You don't see in any nothing to do with your real life. Mm-hmm. All these mathematicians is just there. Then when you class ends and you have nothing to carry because everything is there. Everything on the blackboard, right? Mm-hmm. You cannot carry the blackboard. Mm-hmm. So this is how we're doing that. All the teachings that we receive and we contemplate. Oh, this, that. We just set up storing different places, and then you go back. So this is what many times we that's the kind of what you call. This is how the students we do that as a students. Student means a teacher give you one book and say put it that way, and then you just put here. And teacher another bit, you put it here, and then you said class ends. And you have no book at all. So this is how sometimes, many times, even the very educated, people, very learned people, they learn it, educated, defined by how much you can kept the languages, the vocabularies, how much you can memorize. That's educated, right? So this, educated people, and the meaning of each vocabularies, each words, we just, set with that words. So you only have the words, and the meaning is within the word. So the words are independent, the meaning becomes independent. Like impermanence and the products. You have the meaning of the impermanence in the word of impermanent, and you have the meaning of the product in the words of the product. So the word seems independent, different. So the meaning is never really, have connection. Then, when we come to understand whatever thinks this product, it has to be impermanent. Now there's a contradictions. What you understand and what is the realities, right? So this, then student understand deeper and deeper, and then he sees, oh, everything is just from one, and become the varieties. Like when you dissolve everything, you find just ultimate nature, absence of intrinsic. From the absence of intrinsic, and the absence of intrinsic, and then relatively things happening. So how many things that happen 1,000 times, million times, all in one essence is the, all in the one sense is the absence of intrinsic. Because of the absence of intrinsic, there is, things can manifest many times and in many different ways,
I have some nagging issues. I don't know why. There's two aspects.
I think you should stop drinking.
I think I have the opposite.
So now it's
problem.
time. No, now is the
I'm-
time.
I'm chronically dehydrated, so I think I should drink much more.
Yes.
You know, this thing about continuity, it seems to me that the teachings kind of try to have it both ways. Asserting that there's this continuity, and then you can't say things don't exist. And I mean, we can all see kind of that if we die, if we have relatives, friends, there's something about our behavior, our thought that remains kind of behind, has affected them in some way. So it's not like a total death, but it's not also totally real, because they all can have very different perceptions of us that disagree with one another. But right, one area I seem to be having a lot of difficulty is, it seems to me there's also discontinuity, not just continuity, but discontinuity. And I'll give a few examples of discontinuity. One example is a hermit who goes off, he lives in the cave, no one even knows who he is, or it could be a crazy man. There's no mark he's leaving on other people's minds. They don't even know he exists. It could be someone marooned on an island. And another example might be, say there's a nuclear war and huge areas, maybe even the whole planet, there's like massive extinction. And of course, you can say, yes, there's effects of this extinction, and things go on within these effects, but there's no continuity in a relative sense of identities, things we've relatively, maybe humans are wiped out, or history is wiped out, historical memory, and yet we hear asserted all the time that that our thoughts, which are all our kind of, I should say, effects of our past thoughts and speech and actions, are continuing in some way, and it almost seems like they go into the bardo, and something still coheres and takes rebirth. And no, you can't say this rebirth was this person in the past life. There's still some kind of sense of coherence. And to me, the nihilistic view is much more appealing here, that there is no coherence. There's no observable or recognized, at least maybe you can recognize because of your ability to recognize experience on the Bardo level at the moment of death and so forth. But for me, it's non-existent. So it seems that Buddhism and the middle way is trying to have it both ways, as saying there's no intrinsic identity, but there's continuity. And I would tend to assert that there are great discontinuities, that not everything is continuity, at least observably. If they're there, I can't observe them. That's one thing. And I don't know why this is coming up in my mind right now, this other thing. The first Buddhist book I ever bought, I don't even know why I bought it. It had an exotic title, and it was bizarre, and I was in my freshman year, and I bought a copy of the Siddharma Pundarika. I don't know if you're familiar with the Siddharma Pundarika. I kind of suspect, though I don't know, I have to go back and look now, whether that's way before the middle way, because it's a very esoteric. I don't know if it's a sutra. I would think maybe it's a sutra. And it goes page after page through like this kind of cherry tree exists, this kind of, it just names them one after another. It goes on forever. The scientific names, not like an orange tree. I mean, scientific names. You don't even recognize what this stuff what it is. And then it says, then it rained. And then it gives all the names of the Tathagatas. And I remember when I got that book, I couldn't make sense of it at all once I looked at it. I gave up. I looked at a few pages. I gave up trying to understand it, except for one thing. And that is, there was a passage with the names of Tathagatas, one after another. And I thought, this must have power. So I think I'll read the names out loud. And I did. And I still believe that had some kind of, I guess it's my religious side or my generative side, that because I read that page, there were effects of reading just the Tathagata's name. There were effects that had on me and my whole life and my connection with Buddhism. That's a separate matter, and I don't even know why I'm bringing that up right now, because I kind of suspect that was way before the middle way. I don't know for sure, but it would seem so. The fact that they were naming one thing after another, I could never figure out why the hell they would have written this stuff. I mean, it was endless. Anyhow, so on the one hand, I have this thing about discontinuity, and Buddhism is trying to have it both ways, that somehow in the Bardo there is a coherence. There's a continuity, there's a kind of coherence. And the moment you say there's any kind of coherence and continuity, it seems to me that you are implying that there is a kind of identity that coheres. Otherwise, you wouldn't even feel the need to talk about continuity. There's still, even if you can't identify how the effects, what causes they're related to, it seems like very subtly they're still suggesting there's some kind of identity and coherence. That's my comment. So in some way, I kind of relate more with nihilism in that sense, because I think it's obvious to me that there can be what seem to be huge discontinuities in observable things, and of course you can superimpose. Oh, but there was a war, and this is all people's consciousness, and there's a continuity here. That's a superimposition. It's not a fact. It's only a fact in terms of superimposition. Those are my comments.
Are you done? Still waiting. You have more.
No, I'm probably roasted now by this time. The pepper is completely burned and unpalatable.
I was wondering, what triggers all these questions in your mind. So what imprints in there? So if they're possible, I want to go and check this. So find each tools that I want to polish it. I think this is normally, there's, sometimes these followers of the Buddha, sometimes you do kind of, what called religious practice, or I don't know, following the Buddha or becoming Buddhist, like almost like becoming, if I want to Democrats, what benefit I can get. So I will decide I will be Democrats. So what benefit I can get from the Republican, so I can be Republicans. So that kind of mentality is, if you follow, I want to follow Buddha. So how many benefits you can give it to me? So so I will stay home, comfortably, doing nothing. Bring me the benefits. So show me first benefit. Then I will sign. I'm proud of you. This kind of mentalities, it continues to go, then always like you are like, and when we talk about the Siddhantic school, minority school, Prasangika schools, all this talking, discussing, you think you're a judge. All these are lawyers. It just, final decisions made by me. So I have to decide what's So the Buddha, another way is the Buddha's following is, so, I take refuge with the Dhamma and the Sangha. So Buddha's teaching, and each knowledge we try to actualize, understands, and then use that to change your view, right? So each knowledge, like from the Siddhantic school point of view, is understanding and using that, and then you change the view. You change yourself. You change your whole yourself with Siddhantic school point of view. And then you find there's something incomplete. And then you find I have to move to the minority school, and you can't gain the knowledge of the minority school point of views. And that whole changes yourself from the Siddhantic school. You keep changing. So then the Prasangika school logics they use. And then with this logic, whatever comes the result, you go with that. Right? So you are not going to decide the result should be like this. You go with what logic leads you, what logic brings you at any point of view, you accept, because it's logically approved. It's not emotionally established. It's the true logic and reasoning. So if you change with this, then this is the perfect way of following the Buddha's teaching. So if you don't change yourself, like to just stay at home, I will sign, I'll vote for Democratic, bring me the benefits. So that's, so this whole philosophical point of view is change the way of thinking. If you don't change yourself, so which means, as I mentioned, it's like you are, the stuff in the library. You all know the books, but you never read each one book. This book is say talk about this. This book is talk about this, and then put all in there. So it's like is So this is the sometimes the monasteries we study like that. We all try to understand what says this, what this says, what mindfulness school says, and we can debate. This is how mindfulness school says. This is Siddhantic school says, and nothing really convincing to yourself. You have no view at all, but you have understands. This is how Chandrakirti school says. This is how minority school says. So it's maybe there's some kind of benefit, the imprints, make the next life easier. So it makes it easier for the next life to study. But it's very, very difficult to get the actual the what do you call so Buddha teaches all this to subdue the mind, to tame the mind. The taming the mind means change the mind, right? So change mind with what? Right. By believing something, accepting something? No. Changing mind with, convincingly. You are so sure about this point of view. That's so convincing to you. That change whole your view. And then again you move another your point of views. That changes. This is the taming the mind. Yeah, there are some one of my teachers is he didn't go to like the monastery study, the rigorous study, but he's more like a practitioner. He received the teachings, the Lama teachings, 7 times, and there's one tenets books, the very thick. He has studied this, and he always says, so when teacher explained word by word, it all makes sense to him. But if he says, why, and he has no explanations, no answer. That's the why is so so threatening for him, right? So if someone says why, so he was told to follow. This is how he followed. The following what says in the book, what's stated in the book. So this is how he follows the Buddha's teaching. Just follow. No ask any questions. So there's many people, different way of following the Buddha's teaching. So now the Chandrakirtis, Buddha Palitas, so they are not really followers. They want to make sure everything's logically approved. Reason out, constitute through the logic and the reasonings, established, and then they follow. They even analyze some of the Buddha's, his own teachings. This is not literally you cannot accept. So this is teachings for purposely taught to some group of peoples, their mental dispositions. For that purpose, Buddha teach this. They can understand. Even when you read the Buddha's teachings, they understand, this is for certain people. This is for certain people. This is Buddha what he meant. So that Nagarjunas, Buddha Palitas, Chandrakirtis. So some great masters, they just, their way is to follow it, whatever teacher says. So even the Kadambas, the Geshes, Geshe Potova, Changawa, many Geshe. So one of the Geshes, Geshe Changawas, is he always stick with Domtamba and Atisha. There's no other teacher. So he thinks there's no need to follow many teachers. So one of the Geshe Changawas, he not only following those renowned masters, he always also follows some of his disciples' teaching. So he go there and receive teaching, So different, different, how to say, mentalities. So he thinks if one, benefit from that teaching is worth it, I could go there. So it's depending on your individual's mental dispositions, mental capacities. But you should know the mental capacity, how much your capacity. I think you should know by now. So you have to expand your capacity. So understand logically thinking, and then apply and meditate, contemplate many times. So Larry is saying discontinuous. He thinks that there's something that discontinuous because he hasn't known that, because he's that thing is unknown to him. Therefore, he's saying so everything decided by the judge now. Judge has not known, so therefore it's discontinued. I will disapprove it. This, if I show him new fruit, so I said, this is the fruit from that seed. He said, I don't know that. So I disapprove. This fruit hasn't come from the seed yet. So discontinuity, continuous is the present result based on the present, whatever things that manifest, that, proves what it continues. It also shows how, if you trace the continuity, and you will also find the endless continuity. So you don't have to, every trace of that cause, the continuity cause, it's not necessarily you have to know this, all of them, but only you can understand things has manifest, things has been arisen. So that arisens, without causal condition, it is impossible. If there is cause for that, so it is continued from that cause. If there is a cause of that thing, that cause also continued from their own cause. So this is simple reason. Yeah, that's very simple. So sometimes it's sometimes when you analyze, what we call, like the trees. Right now we see rice, barley, corns, different, right? So if you trace the continuity, so the continuity has a substantial level of continuity, or the type of that, the continuity of the type. So if you trace the continuity of the type, maybe there is beginning. But if you trace the substance level continuity, then there is no beginning. Because the whole planet before this universe, not there, none exist. So the universal and their, the human beings, the animals, the planets, the plants, if you try to trace back before this universe, so there is no type of continuity you can find. This type is begin with this planet, right? So in the substance level you would find, and then this beginningless, particle level. So sometimes you see, for example, the sound. You seem say there is the type, is the continuity. So if you someone call my name from the far distance, so there is the sound that continuing, and then touches my eardrum. I can hear it. So now the continuity, how do you really, how do you really identify the continuity? Continuity of the type of sound, right? Sound that making name, calling a name. So, that if you trace that, the beginning is the someone's who started calling it out, make the name. So his mouth. And the particle level, you see, substance levels, you see, and before that person exists, who call your name, there's a substance level, the continuity is still there. That's why they say the sound is created, with the wave. So the wave is not the type of continuum of sound. Wave is in the substance level. So this carries the continuity of the sound. So the looks like sometimes you call it ether, right? Something, the sound that carries, by the wave. The substance level, it is, before the person who called your name is there. So the continuity is the type of continuity and the particle level continuity, the substance continuities. Human beings continuity is human being or sentient being, right? And then sentient beings, the particle level, the substance level continuous is not a sentient being. It's just element outside. The air that you see, air that you feel it, and the heat, and then the earths. These are the basis for our, to born again and again. We're born in this air. We're born in this heat. We're born in this, earth elements. We die in the elements. We're born from the elements, right? So the substance there is not a sentient being at all. Yeah. So this is where if one failed to negate existing by virtue of intrinsic characteristic on the conventional level, one failed to realize the extremely subtle level of selflessness. So they fail to negate existing by virtue of intrinsic existence. Maybe your understanding emptiness is negating, self-sufficient I. You haven't really negated intrinsic I. So if that negation is just very grosser, grosser level, then you cannot, it is, you cannot free from this, the eternalism of analysis. So if you negate the, correctly, exactly the, intrinsic qualities, then you have, so you free from the eternalisms and the nihilisms. So the negation elements is important. What you are negating, like, Sotadic school, they negate self-sufficient I, and they also negate, the, like anything that is not something that is not born from cosmic conditions. This should not be ultimate. And the mindfulness school negate, kind of a duality, the substantial duality of a subject and object. And mind only also negate the external kind of form, sound, smell, taste, tactilities. So they are negating that. So Prasangic school says, if you're negating just external, sound, smell, taste, form, tactilities, this is not going to make you understand emptiness. If you Sotanic school, you are emptying the self-sufficient I. What do you mean by self-sufficient I? The self of the person that exists independent from the body and the mind. So if you meant that, you are self-sufficient. So which means you are just simply negating non-Buddhist schools in the assertion of the self, Atma. So by negating that, again, it's not going to, make you understand the Prasangic school point of views. So what you are negating, so negation element has to be, it's not just like in the Prasangic school, it's a very specific, like a color, sound, smell, taste. Each, sound is not intrinsic. Sound is not intrinsic in the wave. Sound is not intrinsic in air drum. Sound is not intrinsic in the wind. The sound exists in the contact of the wind, wave, and air drums. Right. So the Prasangic school says the sound being not intrinsic, intrinsic or inherent in the wind, wave, air drum is so very specific. It's talking about the sound itself. Sound cannot be found to be existing inherent in the, inherent in the wind or the wave of the air drums. But, it's not inherent in there, but it still can create a sound which is not inherent. Like the image of the face is not inherent in the mirror, not inherent in the face, but, so not inherent, but with the mirror and the face, the contact, it can produce the image of the face. So the self of the person, the I, which is never really exist as a self person in the body, in the feeling, in the perceptions, in the sense power, and the object of the sense or object of the sense powers. Totally absence in and out, But, it can, from the combination of that, can construct the self of person. And then, that creation can be a creation of the man or the woman, male or the female. So very existing of the self person is not inherent, but something that is totally absent in there, but from the contact, it can create the self. And having created self, and then it can divide it into male or the female. So the male is based on the person. The person is not inherent. Like the sound is not inherent in the wave and in the air drum, but so nothing there, but from there, from the contact of there, it can make the sound. So the self of person is never really exist. It is impossible to be inherent in the body, right? Inherent in the perceptions and the sense powers and the sensory object. But altogether they are functioning. Then there can be, the person can exist. So like the smell and taste, So, yeah, even some of the scientists says the molecule or the odor, smell, odor, yeah. So molecule or the odor has no smell at all. You cannot smell the molecules. You cannot smell the particles. But there is nothing, but it can. When it contact with the, the no sense powers, it can create the smell. So that does not mean smell is somewhere in the molecules or somewhere in the tongue, but it knows no sense power. It's not. It is absent here. It is absent here because the two things together, and they can create something else. Like you will always say, this hand, together make the noise, right? The noise is not here, not here. So when it's joined together, it creates the noise. So if your both hand is cold and you rub and can create heats, it is not there previously. It's not here in the right hand or left hand, but by joining, it can create third things. So in this way, you see that everything is, temporarily, and temporarily, or how to say, what do you call it? Yeah, everything is existing, like temporarily. Everything exists like, as a creations, as a temporarily exists. It is uncertain, unreal, So if you see that in every color, sound, smell, taste, tactilities, and then mental image, then you see, it has so much impact on your mental state, then that has reduces the fixations on the phenomena. So the point is to subdue the mind, subduing, reducing the afflictive emotions. So when the emotions, mentally when you see, it is sure there's nothing real and intrinsic, and that gives the idea to the emotion there is no solid food to eat, right? It's all just, what's that? Glass, glass pizza. It's just pizzas in the glasses, right? There's nothing you can touch. So everything is like that. Then, so that, the convictions is kind of, convincing your anger and attachments. There is no solid things that you can really angry with. Yeah. There is nothing that you can, emotionally get jealous or kind of arrogant or attached. The objects are, all are, non-intrinsic, no place to ground, right? No basis to ground, and it happened like reflections. It is unreal. So you have to convince the mind that everything that you see and smell is like that, right? I think that is why you see to follow the Buddha's, faith-driven and the reason-driven two things. So Nagarjuna's Chandrakirti is with reason, they follow the Buddha's teaching. And sometimes, I saw many, great, practitioners faithfully from the beginning is there's not intelligent side, but the undoubted and complete and no space for doubt at all, and putting so much faith, and that is continuously, without distractions, and they become so intelligent again. So these days, even sometimes I see in Hindu, some of the masters, from the beginning, they're just faith followers. There's not much to, there's not much intelligence side, but their devotions brings the intelligence. I think that's maybe because of we say the refuge is surrender. So, surrender means you give up your pride, your your attachment, your angers, all give up and surrender to the Bhagavats. So maybe because of that, there's a possible, from the beginnings, no intelligence, but because of the continue of the devotions, it becomes so intelligent.
Well, could you say why that is? Because, I guess I'm always playing devil's advocate here, but we can see people who have devotion to really stupid things, stupid people.
Yeah.
And if there's no way you call them,
that's very convincing.
There's no way you'd say they increase their capacity. Yeah. So there must be, whether it's the object itself that they're devoted to, is it a question, what is it that causes them to increase their capacity? It's not only the devotion. I'm sure it's not only the devotion.
So devotion, I think you forgot to listen that I said that because of the devotions has the meaning of surrendering. Surrender means, when the police show the gun, you have to, you have to put out everything that all the things that you have, the cell phone and the wallet and the gun or the knife. You have to, without that you are not surrendering. So devotion is the essence of the meaning, kind of the essence of the devotion is to surrender to the Bhagavan, and you give up your negative emotions. So giving up, becoming, or kind of, sometimes there's in Hindi there's many terms, devotions. Premi Bhakt, Premi Bhakt. Premi Bhakt means lover like devotions. So when one person is so much love to the woman, he always think about that, and, so this is Premi Bhakt. Another Bhakt is Guru Bhakt, like followers. And then his Bhagavan is his like a king. He is, citizen. Whatever he says, orders in this way. So anyway, both the devotions has to be given up their negative things, because he sees his Bhagavan is always with him. When you see your Bhagavan is always with you, how can you get angry with other people? How can you cheat with other people? So devotion is not like eye expressions. This is not a devotion. is not because of something that you see in the face. So the, bhakt in Hindi, bhakt is to try to become inseparable with what you love.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to bring this up again. Did Aguimala have devotion?
Ugly Mala? He's very ugly.
That I cannot say.
So I think I should ask May how to pronounce that.
How do you pronounce it? No,
I don't know.
she doesn't know. She surrendered.
That's not surrender.
Did he have devotion? Would you say he had devotion, and therefore the Buddha appeared to him in spite of his ignorance? What would you say the nature of his devotion was?
From the story, we can see he is very much devoted to his guru. Guru says the west is east. He says, yes, I follow. This is the east. Guru says this is, east is west, and he said yes. That kind of devotions. Even Guru, he sensed that he is deceived by Guru, but he still follows. Like, this is my way of following.
Do you think he had negative emotion when he killed people, or he just followed his guru's instruction and he had no particular emotion or attachment and didn't see what he was doing as bad or good? He just
I don't know much about it.
Emotionally followed.
I let you know when I asked him. Hey, so May always call angry monk. So, it's Angulimala. Anguli is thumb.
Anguli.
Angulimala. Anguli is thumb. Mala is, mala. One who may wear the mala is human thumb. Yeah, and Angulimala, when he met the Buddha, one time he says, it is possible for me to change now, but I have did so much for a long time. And Buddha says, every day is, night after there's a, sunrise. So every day is possible. You can change. So then he dropped his knife on the feet of the Buddha. So he become, I think Buddha gave him a name, what is his name? So there's a beautiful name here. Ahimsa, ahimsa, harmony. Yeah. So he's no more harming. Bhikshu ahimsa, Bhikshu ahimsa. So everyone is still afraid that this monk, the Angulimala, is still in this group, within the group of monks. Even the king want to visit, he will make sure this is true or not. But which means that he has, very desire to achieve the Bhagavan. He wants to see the Bhagavan. He thought that this is the best. So whatever the Guru says, bad or good, whatever says, just follow Guru. Now he is not ugly. He is very handsome, very tall, and very strong. So there is a ugly mala. So not the ugly mala, not the angry monk, it's the ugly mala. So yeah, that's the kind of fail to realize the extremely subtle level of the selflessness. It would also become the difficult to ensure that the subtle degrees of the eternalist and the nihilist view do not arise within one's mind. So it's very important to what you're negating. So you have to understand the kind of the level of the negation elements. So sometimes people meditate in emptiness, negating everything is non-existing. Or every existing is negating. So that is kind of nihilism. So emptiness, I had mentioned earlier, analyze. Sometimes you begin with the color, sound, smell, taste, trying to find how do they really exist, and then you find all of them just undeniably it exists, it arises, but you cannot really find any evidence they have originated form, where it originated from. It's just reflections. Reflection you cannot say is originated by the mirror or originated by the face. Right? So similar with the color, sound, smell, taste, all of them like that. And then, sense powers. Sense powers just there is a very fine form and outcome of the elements in your mind, in your body. So this kind of there's a frame in the body. So the Rice Seedling Sutra says, right in the, you see the consciousness is like a beam, beam in the body. The consciousness, the beam like body. Beam means beams that holds the roof, right? So the beam means the consciousness kind of actively, apprehends things or experience things through this sensual frame, the sensual frame of the, sensual frame, yeah, maybe faculties. So they're just very fine, very settled, and that, how to say, produced or happen to be existing from the elements, elements of the body. So then you see that, so that sense faculties, again, it is not intrinsic. It's also like reflections. They exist like reflections. When there's the, space and the wind and heats and moistures and solidities, and then with, with the consciousness and construct the sense and the sense faculties. So become like a frame in the whole, the whole body, from the, from the crown to the like toe. So there are sense faculties. This is not originated, or it is not substantially born from the elements. It is elementally constructed, and it is the form, conventionally you understand it is a form, but the element could not produce the sense faculty without association with the consciousness. So with associated with this consciousness, the energy from the elements produces the sense faculties. So the sense faculty is also not intrinsic. So then again, each consciousness, eye consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, when you examine them, nothing intrinsically there. And then the very person, yourself, mind, I am, again, when you examine, you cannot find. It is not just not finding for a short moment, is you find never exist, never had exist, never will exist, never is existing. Totally. Right. So then that non-existing, not finding of these intrinsic natures, and you just visualize that absence turn into, in the form of color, and very subtle, and the tiny dots, and the center of the body. Now bring all focus on that center of the body. Just try to remain focused on that and try to bring yourself inseparable. There's nothing, not me, right, out there. And all that I see, I experience, I hear, I smell, are all, like, what do you call it, magicianal things. It's all happening. So that's the, Prasangik school trying to, bring to that point of, absence or intrinsic existence. If such existence is negated on the conventional level, one will not only avoid falling into eternalism and nihilist view with respect to the ultimate truth, one will escape being soiled by the stain of eternalist and nihilist views. So this will help you to free from even the, right now it becomes the antidote for the afflictive emotions, and then it also helps you to free from the temperaments, like a stain, the stain of the afflictive emotions. So one escapes being soiled by the stain of the eternalism and the nihilist view, which is the conventional truth as well. It thus has the merit of easily abandoning the view of eternalism and nihilism. Now, Lama Tsongkapha, where he explained that, he wants to go on talking about, so something that is uncommon with other school of thought. So in this Prasangika school, absence of intrinsic natures, has the function of the law and cause effect. That is uncommon from other school. And then Prasangika school also says, therefore, grasping of self person and grasping of self phenomena, both are delusional, afflicted mind. And that is also uncommon from other school thought. And Prasangika school says, without realization, emptiness of the phenomena, no way you can, eliminate the afflictive emotions. That is also uncommon from other school. So the arhats, to attain arhat, you have to gain the realization, emptiness, not just emptiness of the person, emptiness of the phenomena. And so without realization, the emptiness of the phenomena, there is no way you can, overcome the seed of the afflictive emotion. And Prasangika also, another uncommon is, Prasangika school says, disintegration, cessations, the cessations are functional things in the Prasangika school. So that is also uncommon with other school thought. So other school, Siddhantika school, Mayana school, like something cessation, something become, cease to exist. For them, it's almost the same as not exist. So Prasangika school said that is conditional things. It's not a non-existing. Cessation of the seed is the functional thing. Cessation of seed is the functional things. Any actions that ends, any actions that is past, any actions that is done is Prasangika school is the conditional. It is the functional things. Like you can, if someone who has committed crime that is not revealed by, the police, maybe police can reveal that after 20 years, 30 years. So he's still considered he has committed. So what action has done is conditional, therefore he can be, this person is punishable. Even actions done for too long. Maybe he's now person become 99 years old. So it's, so actions that pass, actions that done, actions disintegrate is same thing. Done, complete, exhaust is the functional things. So therefore, Prasangika school, past is conditional. The future is conditional. Of course, the present is conditional things. So the other school could not really see that point. The past means they only see something had exist, no longer existing. It's still a meaning of non-existing. And the future is not yet born, not yet exist. It's still meaning no more than non-existing. Right? Future is no longer exist. Past is had exist, now no more existing. The Prasangika school, past means it is not a non-existing. The first is the conditional things. What condition it has passed? When someone died, and what condition, he died? He died accidentally. He died in illness. He died, because something, some reason, some conditions. So it is a conditional thing. The death is the conditional things. Death is not a non-existing. It's a product.
Do you mean like functional, that it's still producing a chain of effects?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. One single karma that you committed this life. So depending on how powerful it is, so if this karma is powerful enough, it can give rise to the result for 500 lives. It's the 500 lives. So this is Prasangika school saying, so that's proving that the karma has ceased to exist. It has passed, but it is not a non-existing. Because the consequences will be, continue for 500 lives. So which means that every day, whatever yesterday, whatever you have done, so the many of the consequences that you experience in this today, or sometimes subconsciously, and you have, experienced that. Sometimes active consciousness sees, oh, I have done that. Now this is happening. So this always, cause being ceased to exist, cause being past, is never become non-existence.
Is it like the past of the cup is non-existent? There is a difference between, like, the past is conceptual.
Yeah, the past is conceptual, but it's a conditional thing.
And it's functional.
Yeah, the relation, Bali seed and spark relation is a conceptual, but it's functional things. So the Prasangic schools, presenting the reason why we say the past is functional things. It is not a non-existing. It is a functional things. It is the existing. So first, the one reason is the past has the cause and the condition. When the sprout has the cause and the conditions, born from cause and the condition is not considered to be non-existing. So the past too has a cause and a condition, right? So you don't say last year's space and this year's space, we don't say that. The space has past and not past, right? So you talk about any conditional things that has past or not. So the anything that pass, without cause and condition, nothing can pass. Nothing can cease. Nothing can die. No one can die without cause and condition. So that is one of the reasons past is conditional things, is the functional things. And the second reason is the past, is conditional things, because the past of the cause is the reason. You have only only thing that you can draw the conclusions on this kind. You may experience this kind of consequences. You have done this. You have done this. The done is the reason. You done this, this may happen. You done this, this may happen. Right? You done this with that mind. You done this with this kind of virtuous mind. You done this with negative mind. Or this may happen. So it's the evidence, So this is the one. Yeah. Second reason is the functional things. It's conditional things. And the past is. The third reason, the past is non-affirmative negation. Affirmative negations. The past is affirmative negations. Past is affirmative negation. Negation means it shows that one things that has anything that passed, that thing has no longer exist. It says. It says things that pass, that very thing is no longer exist. So therefore it's negation. And it's affirmative, because that kind of, that end of that thing has caused the conditions. So suggestions and negations. So therefore, Prasangic school says, is affirmative negation. Like, say affirmative negations, for example, like empty table. I clean up the table, empty tables. So empty is negations, table is affirmative. So this is Prasangic school. It's very uncommon with other school. And unique things, maybe unique things, yeah. So now the merit of cause and effect become the most tenable. Oh, it's already 4:00. So yeah, if you go beyond that, it's non-virtue. So I want to go beyond.
It's virtue.
Yeah.
It's virtue.
So I
I
think
have to disagree.
yeah, I should stop here. The virtues.
Virtueless.
Too much virtue is negative, not virtue.
Don't say that. It's dangerous.
So we are taught in English school, two is negative. Chanju simjo rinpoche ma yeba na geju je geba nyamba meba ya konde kondo peba tonye tawa rinpoche ma yeba na geju geba nyamba meba ya konde kondo peba pama simje tamje dedan deju nyenjo tamje tado tongwa chanju simba kana suju teda gunju monam juju ji karera weko beshi penda dewa ma nunjo ne jere simba tinze
May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all the lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakirti Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much.